guys, welcome to the Guitar Summit webcam. I hope you're doing well. My name is Julia, and today we've got a very special guest, Mr. Billy Sheehan. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. How are you doing?
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm really good. This is the longest I've been home since the 70s, I think.
Wow.
As I tour so much. So the good thing is I get a lot done around the house. I've got all my basses fixed up. They're all in tune now. I did a lot of home projects. I'm recording a lot. We've done almost 100 songs already.
Wow.
I started a production company with myself, Ray Lugier, he's a drummer for Korn, and another friend of ours, Scott Bush. He's a great guitar player and Pro Tools expert. So we just, people send us their tracks and we do bass and drums or give them some guitar if they need it too. And
wow.
We've done almost 100 songs already.
So you're busy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost wish I could go back on tour and get some rest. Because
exactly. We met the last time at the NAMM show this year, and
yeah.
I just thought it's like, wow, it was this year. It feels like way back. Yeah, crazy. And a lot of things were happening right there. You told me you've got the EBS drive pedal, then the new signature pickups. You were talking about a new Helix compressor, and you just signed a record deal for Talas, I think. So a lot of things were going on. So as you said, you spent your time really busy in the last couple of months.
All those things are still in play. Talas record is almost done. We had a little difficult time because the singer is in Toronto and I'm in Nashville. But we found an incredible software called Audio Movers, and I was able to listen on one computer in real time to the mixing console. And then with Zoom, I had the engineer, Phil, and myself. So we could do all the vocals like that, where I could, coach them through the parts and harmonies and everything. So we actually it was quite successful. Then I sang all my parts here, sang my harmonies to him. Mm-hmm. His son is going to add a voice to the harmonies too, which is quite wonderful. His son is a great singer also now too. And so we did the record. We did the songs we did back in 1985. We didn't update them. We didn't fix them or rewrite them. We just did them the way we did them. Some of them are a little clunky, but we just said let's do it like we did it back in the 80s. And so far, it's coming out great. You're going to love the drummer. He's just a wonderful guy, a cross between Bill Bruford and Terry Bozzio.
Wow.
And he is just a mind-blowing
mind-blowing. Yeah.
And he plays as good as ever. So it's going to be
great. And when does it come out? When is the release?
Beginning of next year. Everything is slow. Everything is so slow. We would have had it out in the summer, but everything is so slow because so many extra steps you have to take due to the pandemic. Yeah,
it's difficult nowadays to plan things because everything is screwed up. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's rough. And the bass, the 30-year anniversary Yamaha is out. This is a prototype, and it's quite wonderful. I took it on the road with me and played it a lot, warming up before soundcheck. Then I used it live a couple of times, and it's been great. And we have one gentleman, I think his name is Ricardo, on Facebook today. He's logging in who has all the basses because there's only 30 of them.
I know.
So he's got about 24 of them spoken for. I think there's and then this isn't one. This is a prototype, so I never even got one. But I've heard from friends. I have a dear friend in Australia that has one, and she's very pleased with it. I'm so glad to see. And a couple other people that have gotten them. And I wish we could have done more, but during the situation, actually, it worked out just right because they were almost in production when the virus thing hit. So we managed to finally get it happening. So that's good. And then my pickups, you have a P bass configuration on any of your basses? One of these pickups
Yes,
size?
I have. Yeah.
I should send you a set. So when we finish, send me an email and let me get you a set of these, because I'd love to hear your opinion. They're quite different in that you can see by the reflection of the light, they're rounded off.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And
but why?
And they correspond with the radius of the neck. So it's very similar.
I see.
On a stand-up bass, you're playing over the neck. So there's always wood under your fingers. I guess that's kind of normal. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. So when you're playing a bass with your fingers, without these pickups here, you can other ways of doing it too. Your fingers are just kind of in space, floating and hitting those strings. Well, now you've got something under your fingers again, so it makes it a little bit easier to play, because you got something underneath you. So they're rounded off and smooth. As you know, most P-style pickups have sharp edges and they're hard and edgy. And
exactly.
the screw sticks way up. Well, these is way down. It's actually underneath the pickguard now. So you got a great spot for your thumb there, and nothing to catch your hands and cut or hurt you. And the covering is made of nickel.
Okay.
So it's non-magnetic, so it doesn't affect the volume of the pickups. Matter of fact, they are very, very loud. But because it is conductive, it shields the entire pickup completely. So before, right underneath the plastic, you had your wire coils. So they were susceptible to radio interference and noise and neon lights in the club and fluorescent lights. Now they're completely sealed and grounded. So it makes a huge difference. A dear friend of mine, Mr. John Willis, he's quite a great experience, right?
Yeah, I need that. I just played a gig 3 weeks ago. It was one of my last gigs. And I had exactly that problem a little bit with all the lights.
Yeah, this is it's probably not a complete cure in all situations, but it's 90% of it. It really makes a huge difference. So that's the cool thing about these pickups. And I just spoke with Larry DiMarzios. They've sold more of these pickups in 2 months than all of their P pickups from the last year. So, full disclosure, I get a little royalty. I mean, I'll get a check for about $200 at the end of the year. That's it. I don't make a lot of money off it. Larry is kind enough to give me a little royalty for my
ID, that's the thing. I know that you stick to like a brand like for years, like the strings rotor sound. You're playing that strings for many years, and Yamaha and everything like that. So you're really bound to that.
I think it's important because like a lot of times people will change a lot. They go out to a gig, and the next gig they'll do a different pickup. The next gig they'll try a different chord and a different amp. And they go, wait. I was very lucky when I was young, that was long ago, to play night after night after night after night after set of the same bass, same chord, same pickup, same amp, even sometimes the same room for a week in a row. And you really, then you start to understand when there's a problem, it's you. Yeah. It's your hands. Exactly. It's your musical ability. So changing a lot of things adds a variable to that equation, so you don't really know, I'm playing awful tonight. I wonder if it's the new pickup I put in. Well, you won't know unless you play it for about 10 days and 10 shows. So so to stick with the company and stick with the product, it's very important to me. My Rotosound strings I've used forever, for almost all of my life. My DiMarzio pickups, one of my first endorsements also. And Yamaha, this is the 30-year anniversary of the Attitude. I've been with them since.
Actually, I love the color.
Yeah, they did a great job.
It's like from the wife. It was,
Funny you should mention that, because I have her right here. And this used to be, it used to look like that. There's still a little sunburst on the back. But this is what I mean. I played this bass every night, 7 nights a week, 4 sets a night, year after year after year, starting in 70, maybe 71.
Like, was it your first proper bass you had? Okay.
I did have a bass previous to this, which I'm embarrassed to admit, but to you, I'll admit to it here now. It was a Hagstrom. Now, Hagstrom makes good basses, but they're kind of small, and it was kind of 3/4 size, and it was kind of plastic top. And I had taken it apart and sold the parts off years ago, but someone found me one and sent it to me years ago. So I have one, but it's funny when I pick it up, I can't believe how tiny and little it is, and where the P bass is, you know, it's the big bass.
I could imagine. But I've liked the same thing because I'm coming from the cello, the violoncello.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't buy like 5 cellos. You just have one instrument. So when I switched to the bass, I wasn't used to that a lot of people had like a lot of basses, because also now I just play, or most of the time, one bass and that's it. So
yeah, well, that's a good point, and I'll use your point in my when I explain this, because it's true. A lot of musicians, Jocko had his bass.
Exactly.
Ed Van Halen had his Frankenstrat. You know, I had the Wife bass. Now I've since replaced it, but this mimics that bass almost exactly. All the positioning, where the knobs are. When we first took that P bass to create the attitude, we laid it down on a copier to make sure and get the positioning of the knobs to the pickups exactly correct. So we wanted to really have it feel the same. And the neck was all the dimensions of the neck are the same as the P bass. It's the same pickup configuration. And so it became very, now the one thing we do, we got access to the higher frets by cutting this out a little deeper. So when I go back to play a P bass now, I keep bumping up against this part.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So it's still basically the same instrument. But you make a very good point about, well, first of all, a proper cello costs about how much?
80,000.
Unlimited.
Like, a lot. Yeah, you just have one instrument because it's really expensive.
Yeah, I know, like $8,000 to $10,000 for a decent cello, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
But
so
way up. I mean, there's
they go
no open end.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think Pablo Casals left his cello in a cab in New York City one time and somehow got it back. And I know it's worth over $1 million.
That's crazy. Wow.
So that's a good point. Go ahead.
Yeah. My question would be, how does the thing start with the dual output? I mean, Alembic and Rickenbacker both had like dual output.
Yes.
And did you get inspired by that? Or, I don't know, how did you come up the first time with the dual thing?
Well, I didn't know that the Rickenbacker had it. Years later, Alembic came out. That was the timeline. Rickenbacker was there first. I think they're the first one that I know of, though I'm sure there's probably some small manufacturer that did it too, because it does make sense. I was in a small guitar shop in LA near where my house was, and just to walk around the corner, I was there, and they had Neil Berghofer, I think it's his name. He's a famous session player in LA. He did a famous television. It's like the Barney Miller was the name of the TV show, and he did that theme. It's a famous bass line. They called me and said, we got Neil's bass here. Come on over, take a look at it. And I went over. It was a P bass with a humbucker pickup like this. Only it was the humbucker was underneath the pickguard, and he unscrewed the poles to come out. So he did the exact same thing with the dual output. I saw a picture of Mel Shacker, who's a famous bass player from Grand Funk Railroad. He had his jazz bass, and he had an EBO pickup on there. So I think both of them may have been of like mind to how I saw it the first bass I had, because I was waiting for my P bass to come in. The music store let me take Gibson, I think it's an EBO. It was a hollow body, single humbucker. And the low end on that is amazing, because it's just a big, fat, deep, low pickup here. They call it a mudbucker. It's so deep and heavy. And one of my favorite bass players and the biggest influence on me was Paul Samwell Smith from the Yardbirds. So he would do these super deep, low end, like... would hear any of the string scratch or clack. You just hear this super deep, like almost a sine wave, pure tone of low end, and I love that. But I love the way the P bass felt, and I love the sound of the P bass. And when I looked at it, I said, "Oh, we got some realistic. Why couldn't I pop a pickup in there?" And so I did, and it turned out to help in very many ways. Now, you don't need to have. You can, if you have a regular old bass with one pickup and one output, God bless you, have a hit record. You don't need this, but it's a variation. It's a variation. So I've got super deep low end under all my other shenanigans. So I actually can probably. It helps me so much in a 3-piece band. No matter what I do up top, we've still got low end because of that pickup. So it always kind of holds things together. And similar to your home stereo or a PA system, there's a tweeter for high frequencies and woofer for low. They separate frequencies. And there's a reason for that. A speaker can only do so much. When it's moving this fast, and it's also got to move this fast, it's got to do both of those at the same time.
Okay.
So there's problems. So if you split the frequencies and let another frequency do the fast ones, and it does the slow ones, they're more efficient. So in a similar way, that was a long answer. Sorry.
Clever. No, that's important, because that is also how the attitude bass is like 30 years. There's so much process in it. So these are the stories behind that.
It gives you a lot of variation. You get the total Gibson and McCartney Hofner tone out of this. Yeah. You get a regular P bass tone, blend the two. So that's a lot of variation. Because in the early days, it was mostly P bass and Gibson, Fender or Gibson. The Rickenbackers were around, Hofners were around because Paul McCartney was so popular. But it was basically it was a P bass world, and there was Gibson there also. But the Gibson bass tone became quite iconic. I think the bass player for Chicago used it, Paul Samwell Smith, Jack Bruce, a lot of guys used the Gibson tone. And then there was the Fender tone. Now, if you want to do it without doing that, just plug your bass into a splitter, go into an amp, and EQ it low. The other amp, EQ it high. It's almost the same thing.
Cool. So Very cool.
The poor man's way of doing it.
Yeah. And was it your cat? Was it Rebel on the bass? No, there was.
Well, initially it was Spooky because Spooky was our sweet kitty cat that we lost.
Nice!
Almost a year ago, she passed away.
Yeah, I know.
And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, Rebel came into our lives. So it's kind of the Spooky Rebel, because Rebel's my fourth black cat.
Wow.
And there was Quasi, Monkey, Spooky, and Rebel. So they were the 4.
They are so sweet. I just saw the picture on Instagram. And he's lovely.
Yeah, he's a great kitty cat, and he's a wild man. He jumps up and knocks things off and runs like a horse around. And we laugh our asses off every day. It's some hilarious thing he does. He's just a joy.
Nice. And you are cooking pizza. That looked also very delicious.
Come on over. We do some cooking. I tried pork ribs my first time this year, and they came out great. A lot of times, well, how do you make pork ribs? So I Googled it out. I picked a couple of recipes that sounded right.
Yeah.
Worked perfectly.
Nice.
I get experimental sometimes. I do some Indian. I do a great Indian curry. I do some great spaghetti sauce. We do ribs on the grill. We do great pesto pasta. Really nice. We make pesto from scratch, from the basil leaves and olive oil and pine nuts.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I've done that too, but it's delicious.
Oh, it's fantastical. So yeah, we enjoy cooking a lot. I usually have friends over, and we're very pleased with our situation in Nashville now. Nashville isn't as closed up as a lot of other areas. They're a little bit, they're not as tight. So we wear a mask everywhere. Of course, we follow the rules. We always do. I don't like it, and I don't agree, but I'm going to follow the rules anyway. So that's only fair. Protect other people. But we have dear friends over, and you know, we still have a limited amount of people. And we have to get some wonderful neighbors here. We have an acre of woods. We have the raccoons coming up at night. We have any leftover food, we put it out for the raccoons and they show up. Rebel is looking through the window and they're looking at Rebel. Hilarious.
Nice. Sounds good. Sounds good. So
this is Spooky again right here. That's the old girl.
Wow.
When I first got here,
beautiful kitty cat. Yeah. I was very sad when I heard it because I think the first time we met was like last year in September, and you told me about Spooky, and then at the NAMM show there was already Rebel in your
we everyone when they lose an animal, you think, well, I don't want to just get another one. It's like, you know, one's gone, like your car breaks down and you buy a new one. It's not like that, but. We're very grateful. We have a very nice house and it's very large, and we're here all by ourselves, and there's no kitty cat, and it was tough. And
there's something missing.
Yeah. So we went to the orphanage, and we adopted we rescued a kitty. We don't buy them from pet stores or from breeders. Yeah. There's cats that need homes. So I always tell people, you know, who lose their animal and they post about it. I said, you know, when the time is right, there's another kitty or another doggy who needs a home. You know, usually they're good dog or cat caretakers because they've had one already and they know what to do. So we went out and went to the local rescue, and there was a cage down low, and there were a lot of black kitties. We wanted to get another black one because people have sometimes abused black cats. We want to have them with us so they can't ever be hurt. And a little black kitty reached up and he put his paw on my face like this, and I said, "You win." You got it. So he came home with us, and that's our Rebel. He's the greatest.
Wow. Oh, nice. Such a beautiful story. I can switch to another thing.
Okay. All right. So what other questions do you have, my dear? What else can we talk about?
I just saw the video with Paul Gilbert and you playing live in 2009, and both of you were playing like double necks.
Double necks.
And did you tune the bass? I mean, you've got two basses, and they're tuned. How are they tuned? I mean, the bass first. Yeah, that's the normal tuning, like E, A, D, C, and the bass.
Well, there's two variations of that bass. That bass is my main double neck. I use it with Sons of Apollo. With Sons of Apollo, it's tuned standard tuning on the top neck.
Yeah.
EADG, and the lower one is BEAD, which is the last four strings of a 5 or 6 string bass. So I can get down low just like a 5 or 6 string bass.
I see.
People say, well, why don't you use a 5 string or a 6 string? Well, for me, now you probably know as a cellist, you know, there's a thing to this spacing and the way your hands move on 4 strings. Yeah. If you added a string to your cello, it would. It's
different.
You could do it. You could play it, I'm sure, but it's a different thing. And I prefer the traditional 4 strings under my left hand and plucking across, because there's an arc here. When the arc changes with 5 or with 6, it gets way flatter, and it's much more difficult for not impossible. I have a 6 string on the wall that I use when I need to for a session.
Okay.
No problem. So the 4 I prefer. So instead of getting a 5 or 6 string, I tuned 1 neck BEAD. Now I have regular single neck basses tuned like that too, that I've used for sessions and regular attitude basses. And you can take any 4 string bass and change it to a BEAD. So, many times I don't even adjust the nut. Just let it sit in there. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, but on that, go ahead.
You have got a drop D tuner. I mean, and then you've got another range. And I think then 4 strings, I just love my 4 strings. I just get a 5 string bass, but I don't know, my heart belongs to a 4 string bass.
Yeah, I'm the same. And if you run the numbers of the great players, they're mostly all 4 string. Now, if you play a 5 string or 6 string, God bless you, that's great. That's fantastic. But here's where I think the problem, as you know, there's always a little hey, 5-string, oh, 4-string, no, you know, back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't need any other reason to be angry at each other.
No,
We got plenty. We got way too many already. Let's not make this one. And I think a lot of people that don't know bass, they see 5-string and they go, whoa, he must be way better. He plays 5 strings. 6, oh, he must be the greatest bass player in the world. All those little 4-string players, they're horrible. And that's where this comes from. The non-player sees that and doesn't understand. It's exactly the same. I pick up my 6 once in a while. It's the same patterns, same moves, same everything, all over the place. It's easy to play, but it's flat here. It's much flatter, and I'm used to that. You know, so there is, if you want to paint with whatever kind of brush you want to paint with, that's your choice. It's the art in the end that counts. It doesn't matter if you use 5, 6. I got a 12-string bass the other day with triple strings.
Really?
Wow. So amazing.
What tuning? Like triple strings?
EADG. Standard tuning. But it's triple strings.
A triple? Wow. Yeah.
So everything you play, any lick you play sounds like a composition. It's amazing. It's really cool.
But is it then a really thick neck, or it's just
a little thicker? A little thicker.
Okay.
A little bit. I'm sorry, it's in the other room. I could run and show you.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I'll do it. Hold that thought. You tell everybody a little story, and I'll be right back.
Okay, I will. So, I can tell you, I met Ollie Sheehan the first time last year in September, and that was my very first interview. Oh wow, that was really fast.
Let me plug it in here so you can hear what it does. Come on, baby. All right. So it was it's a wonderful company called Music Vox, and generally a 12-string can be quite expensive because it takes a lot of work to put them together.
Yeah.
But it's got this.
That's a beautiful red. Oh, nice.
It's really. So almost anything sounds like. It sounds like a song already.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
So for writing, it's pretty cool. But it plays great. It was reasonably priced, and they did a fantastic job on it. And it's really I have a Yamaha 8-string bass on the wall back there. It's the black one right there.
Yeah.
It was custom made. It's pretty good, but I need to make some adjustments on which string gauges to use, and I haven't had time to sit down with it, so I will. That's quite nice. But this is quite awesome.
But how long does it take to tune it?
Good question. When I first got it, I wanted to put some more foam underneath the pickups to get them a little closer, which meant I had to take the strings off. No way. So I just loosened it up enough to pull them apart so I could get to it. It's similar to doing a heart operation, and they pull the chest apart, to get in there. So I managed to get it all tweaked up to where it works for me. But I highly recommend.
Awesome. Really cool.
It's really, we have a class with it. So anyway, back to the multi-string thing. Use whatever brush or color you want for your art. But if someone doesn't use the brush you use, don't get angry with them.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. We just talked with Victor Wooten about the electric bass and where it is going in the next few years, because I mean the electric bass is a really young instrument.
It is.
And when I see instruments like that, or even Victor Wooten is just I think he has got a bass which you can bow. So there are many things going on, and Well,
you've got bowing. You've got your cello bowing technique, so you got You got to
I
jump
would
ahead
love
of
to
all
have one. Yes, I would love to
Great.
have one. But there's just one bass actually, and he's trying to play that, and he's trying to write music for that, because there's a whole
Right.
new opportunity you have to sound-wise. It's so cool.
Well,
So
everything is a new adventure, and there's so much more. I had a kid email me one time. I've been playing bass for 6 months, and I'm bored. What should I do? And I told him, quit, bro. It ain't for you. I've been playing for over 50 years, and I'm excited. I'm
yes,
playing 12 string.
and every day, every day you get a new thing. Like,
always.
wow, I've never done. Wow, really? I've never get the tone.
Well, you can. You sit down. You give yourself sometimes, if you have the time. I'm the luxury. I'm very grateful that I have the time. This is my job.
Yeah.
So when I'm on tour, I get in at noon. I'm in the dressing room. I'm playing for hours. And when you're sitting and playing for hours, eventually things start to develop, and they come to you, and you get creative, and accidents happen, and you see new ideas and possibilities. So there's no end to the adventure and no limit. And we see now so many great players. I mean, slap was unknown prior to the 70s, really. And there was probably the stand-up way of doing it, stand-up bass. But the way the funk slap is now, initiated, I think, by Larry Graham.
Larry Graham,
considered the father of that.
Yes.
But look at it now. And that's a couple decades ago. It was 50 years ago. So it was not that far back. Where you figure, we have music from the 1700s and instruments from the 1700s that they're still discovering things about. There are still new violinists, viola, cello players that are coming up with, brilliant new concepts also. So it's really unlimited. And I urge people, anyone watching this, to and sometimes you don't feel like playing. I'll come down to my little studio here, and maybe I'll go outside and work on something. And I say, you know what? You don't stop. I force myself to sit down, and sometimes, okay, just do a hard exercise. Just do something that's tough, and 50 times, and then some other thing, and then some other thing, and it's drudgery, and you don't like it, but you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then suddenly, maybe 40 minutes in, maybe an hour in, it comes alive. Now your hands are up to speed. You're thinking musically, and now instead of practicing, you start playing. Playing is different than practicing. I try to. That's the thing I learned early on. I'm so grateful that I know that. Playing is not practicing, and practicing is not playing. Exercises are not music. They're exercises. When you're really playing, just sit down for an hour and force yourself to get better at one particular thing or one particular move or one particular technique. And then suddenly that little flower starts to bloom, and you have a whole new thing. And doors open up to things you never thought of before. So the first time I ever did hammer-on, I had no idea. Back in 1974, I saw Billy Gibbons go touch the neck. We couldn't believe it. 1974, watching a ZZ Top New Year's Eve. We're up close. I was in the shadow of Billy Gibbons' hat and the lights, and I saw him go and touch a note on the fretboard. We looked at each other like, I can't believe it. He touched the note. This was years before. Now, of course, Van Halen deserves all the credit, and he should get it, because he was the one who certainly popularized it. But I got it initially from Billy Gibbons, and I went home and hey, it worked. Unbelievable. And now look at what people are doing with
crazy stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. They're all over the neck, both hands, their feet, everything. So there's no limit.
No, I'm interested where the bass playing is in 50 years. Where it might be.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I think we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. I certainly did. Tim Bogert, Jack Bruce, Paul Samwell-Smith, Ant Whistle, McCartney, long list that I I tried listing it once on my old MySpace page so people would stop asking me who my influences were, but they still ask me every time. So who are your influences? It's the inevitable question. But I learned from all those people, and then went on and did my thing. I believe from the emails I get, people are doing the same with me. They're picking up my stuff and doing it and adding their thing. So we see this increase, and that's not only increase in technical ability, but it's kind of just a broadening spectrum of what is possible, which is cool.
Exactly.
It can be any kind of music, because I love everything. I love Bulgarian choirs. I love Sinatra. I love 60s garage rock. I love. I did an EDM track yesterday. Recording. We did a country track the other day too. So we've done everything.
Wow. Yeah. What I see sometimes, I just watched the DVD from Louis Johnson's slap bass technique, and he said that he had a rhythm machine and then he lost it. And that's why he created that beat. And also Larry Graham. I mean, he started slapping because there was something missing, the drummer.
Bass drum was the thumb and the snare drum was the snap.
So it was out of necessity. And that is something that I don't know, it's missing sometimes. But just when I'm thinking of me, the younger generation, I just go to YouTube and I'm looking up how to play it. And I'm not coming up. Yeah, and I'm not coming up with own ideas because I want to learn it fast. You know, I think I don't have the long process that Louis Johnson had because he started to do it out of necessity. So that's just the thing which is not the same back in the days. Of course, it's so cool to watch everything and to learn so much.
I learn still from a lot of people. Somebody will send me a video link, and usually I can't click on anything because I just have no time. There's a lot of messages and emails. But then I will once in a while I'll look, and sometimes it's not even a bass player. It could be a flamenco guitarist or a piano player, or I've learned a lot of classical pieces, a lot of the Brandenburg concertos. I've learned bass versions of them just to learn the neck. And most of those melodies are done on violin, viola, or cello, which is tuned in fifths, which made me, I had to move up and down the neck to cover that the range of pitch on the bass. So when I'm playing, so when I learned a little rock piece, I had to do all those moves like that. Helped me now get used to the fact that not just this way, but also moving up and down the neck in that fashion.
Yeah.
So, the adventure never ends. Thankfully.
Thankfully, yes. That's a good one to play Bach or something. I also tried it. It's hard because it's not what you're used to.
Sometimes it helped me. When I did, I hope I don't make a mistake with it because I haven't played it for a while. But like a getting used to counterpoint melodies by hearing Pictures at an Exhibition by Mussorgsky, and then it's now that may be of no use ever in a song or in a composition, but now I've got this way to do these little counterpoint techniques. So in a song, in the bridge, you might need a little, some little thing just to kind of make a different texture or tone. So you can bring that into your vocabulary. I always refer to my playing skills as a vocabulary. because same with language and explanation and communication, the more vocabulary you have, the better you can illustrate something. So that's why a law, a legal contract has such amazing, strange language, because they must spell out everything exactly right so there can be no variation. This is exactly the contract, and this with all these is specific language. So and that's the purpose of that. So language serves such a purpose to explain and communicate an idea. The less language you have, the less vocabulary you have. You'll see people today often going like, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying. Well, no, we don't know what you're saying because you're not saying it, and you don't know how to articulate it in a language. I hope I know what you're saying. I can kind of guess by your physical motions while you're explaining something, but if you could actually think of the words to explain it, you could write that down, and everyone would know what you meant. Yeah. And that's just the gift and value of a vocabulary where you can describe so much more. So the vocabulary on bass, while you're looking, that's a whole vocabulary. That's a whole language. That could be Italian or Japanese or something, and learning the nuances of that language. And in every language, you speak German, every language has this nuance, things that are hard to translate from one to the other. But the more you know about it, the easier it is to understand it. And I'm exactly. a big advocate of expanding your vocabulary. If you're into heavy metal and death metal, and that's all you listen to and that's all you play, fantastic. But at some point, when you go off that road a little bit and listen to anything else that's different, when you come back, you will have more tools. You'll have more to work with. You'll have better ways you can explain it, even within a heavy death metal way, if that's your thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes totally sense.
So I'm talking too much, aren't I? Sorry.
That's a life lesson.
This is my first coffee of the day here. It's 11 a.m.
11, yes.
Today I'm going to do my third video today. We're going to shoot it. I did a video on how to install these pickups on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
A video on how to make your own straps. Talked about the straps that I make. It's this one right here, these kind of straps that last forever and they don't break and they're fantastic. Today I'm going to do how to do fret leveling so you can make your bass play as smooth as silk and not buzz. So that's our video today.
I have to watch it. Wow. Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
So subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so. And so far it's been nice. I've played for over 50 years and I've had a lot of experience and I like sharing it. So I'm really pleased. A lot of the comments, people are glad. And they may not want to do exactly what I'm doing, but at least it gives them an idea of what they can do.
Yes, and, it's so inspiring.
I've enjoyed doing it.
The first thing I'm going to do after this interview is pick up my bass and playing the Bach cello suite on
because you already know it, right?
I know it, but I played it on cello,
Different.
but it's so hard. It's so hard on the bass, and it's not the same thing because I know how it sounds when you bow it, and it's not the same when you play it on electric bass. That's so hard.
Yeah, and it is a different thing, and a lot of times.
Yeah. No, also with the fingering, it's I don't know. I have to get through the fingering again because it's not working, or some parts are not working yet. I have to figure out how I get through this kind of bar.
It really is a different instrument, and I've taken basses and tuned them in fifths, and it's a riot to play, but I have no idea where I am. I'm completely lost. It sure sounds pretty cool. Similar to how my dear friend Tony McAlpine, an amazing guitar player, and amazing real classical piano. Not just some guy that knows a little bit about it. I mean, he sits down and he can do Liszt, Chopin. He's a real thing. And he'll play his guitar with his left hand while he's soloing on the piano. I don't know how he manages to split his brain like that into keyboard and fretboard. But he does. It's pretty amazing. So I know what you mean because your cello is tuned differently and you got all different fingering positions. But at least you have your ear and you can tell when you're right or wrong.
No, but I used it because I learned it when I was a kid, and then I learned, okay, this is my system for the cello, and this is my system for the electric bass, so I can switch between that. That's no problem.
Yeah, I see. Well, you speak two languages fluently, so it's a similar analogy.
Yeah, English, I have to practice a little bit.
Oh, you're
fine.
A little
bit more.
Your English is probably better than mine. I'm still working on it.
So yeah, thank you very much for all your stories and your advice and tips and everything like that. What are your plans for this year? Anything?
Well, we're gonna finish that Talas record. I also produced a record with a singer-songwriter here in Nashville, where that's almost done too. Like I said, I've recorded about 100 tracks now for clients all over the world who've sent me their things to play on. We've had some amazing adventures with that too, because sometimes you get something for somebody that hasn't put it together completely professionally, and we have to kind of figure out how to make this work. But we do. Yeah. We all our clients are very satisfied. Hopefully we get to start writing some winery dogs. I'd love that.
Oh, wow.
And I miss my buddies and Sons of Apollo. We had, as you know, we had to stop our tour when the pandemic started. So I hope we can get back to that also. And no news on Mr. Big, but everybody's doing well. Eric and Paul are doing very well. And we message each other occasionally, but no plans for that at this point. So we'll see. More to come, much more to come.
I can't wait until this is over and I could hug people again.
No kidding. Yeah, it's tough. It's toughest for musicians, but if everyone watching can understand, if it's possible to help anyone out, the crew guys and the guys that put the shows on, because they unfortunately they get paid a different way. They get paid gig to gig, week by week, where in the band sometimes we get no pay at all, but our money comes from other sources, from record sales or merch sales. So most of we're very lucky. We're doing okay. We're not immune to financial failure, but we're holding on okay. Yeah. But a lot of the crew guys I'm very worried about, because there would be no show without them. So I'm doing my best to try to help out a couple of friends of mine that are in a rough situation. So hopefully we get over this soon and get back to playing again.
Yes, exactly. So thank you, Billy Sheehan, again for
my pleasure, Julia.
And thank you guys. Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for watching.
Yes, thanks everyone.
The guys at home until the very end. If you want to see more videos like that, be sure to go to the Guitar Summit website. There are other interviews, and just go there and look what they have on the website. Yes, thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Yes, you too. And everyone out there, stay safe.
Yeah, I hope to see you all in person very soon at a concert or something like that.
I hope so too, Julie. You take care of yourself and have a wonderful holiday coming up too. Christmas and New Year's is coming, and maybe we'll be done with this year and start fresh.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Danke schön.